Beyond the point where the merits of mumble rap end and the versatility of rap as a broader genre begins is this place where the most unexpected artists drop intensely creative and forward-thinking albums. And truthfully, I think Lil Yachty on this new album, Let's Start Here, has at least given more credence to something I've been piecing together for a long time, that is the generic SoundCloud rapper to alternative rap artist pipeline. And in this case, he's created this fantastic blend of psych rock, funk, jazz, pop, soul. It's all here, and it's all handled surprisingly well. And while I was listening to this, I could not help but laugh at the thought that it is very possible Lil Yachty could write a Pink Floyd record, but Pink Floyd could not write a Lil Yachty record. Oh man. Welcome back to On the Flip Side, everyone. My name is Adam Shawwalker, your host, and yes, we are checking out this new Lil Yachty album, Let's Start Here. It's good. It's really good, actually, and going into this, I had pretty much zero expectations. In fact, in the past, I had a pretty rocky relationship with Lil Yachty's work. Most of it I have panned entirely, and now that this album is out and it's got some really solid legs to stand on, I'm wondering if somewhere along the way I just completely missed indicators that this is in fact where this was going. I pretty much just put this album on as a total crapshoot, just checking out what new stuff had dropped, going down the list and seeing Lil Yachty. I knew at the very least I could probably check it out and get enough out of a few listens to put something together, but even if it wasn't going to be something that really got me thinking, I wasn't expecting this. And instead, we've got this great forward-thinking album. Yachty is dancing through sheets of reverbed out auto-tune, which at this point, while I still think it is gratuitous, is still very well thought out, as it seems like Yachty is actually letting a lot of the features do the bulk of the work. He's taking a backseat to the production work, which here is just insane. These beats and instrumentals are fantastic. There are Pink Floyd Great Gig in the Sky-like vocal crescendos that are stunning, like on the opening track, The Black Seminole. There are heavy-hitting bangers like I've Officially Lost Vision. And while I can't say every moment here lands perfectly, the foundations of all of these tracks are so solid that even when things seem a little bit off, I can't help but just sit back with my jaw on the floor. This album is so juicy. It is so pretty at points. From top to bottom, it's pretty much just highly produced funk or afro psych dolloped onto mushy enveloping waves of pop with hints of jazz. And everything gets a moment to shine, with a progression from the beginning of this album being a lot more psych rock influence to the end, almost reaching into like a Trent Reznor-esque film score style. Make no mistake, Lil Yachty is not pulling punches here. This album, for someone who comes from a background of making, in my opinion, pretty lukewarm mumble rap, this is completely insane. It's like telling someone who has only made Blue Box mac and cheese to make a gourmet dinner, and then they do it while balancing on a tightrope. The Black Seminole again starts with this very Tame Impala psych wave that delves into these incredible rich and lush waterfalls of reverb and incredible vocal work. There's some great guitar work on this thing too, which sounds like it's taking a note from Jack White's style of fuzz tone and crossing it with a David Gilmour Animals era guitar solo. Absolutely stunning opener. They nailed it so hard. The Ride is a very light, floaty electronic soul track with these great arpeggiated synth parts that fill out the mix nicely. Running Out of Time rides this killer funk bass line with some more great tripped out synths. This one is pretty much just a really solid jam all the way through. It is very Thundercat. Pretty, like the name suggests, is a very pretty track, almost to a point that it can be a little bit much, but it's such a bold song with just how many vocal layers are being worked with here for the whole song structure that I kind of give it a pass. Failure is one of the only interlude tracks here where Yachty is talking about his struggles with the concept of failure and stepping from being a poor to a rich man and trying again if you fail. I think it comes off as a little bit awkward, a little bit pretentious, maybe a bit pandery, but I still think it kind of adds to this very hefty, newer, sleeker, sexier presentation that he's going with here. The Zone is another solid synth-driven track, which actually does border on synthwave at points for the production. It is a very patterned grid world with how big this thing sounds. The whole thing soars and has this really solid feature in the middle of the track, which I think is just brilliant. We Saw the Sun feels like a bit of a continuation of the last track. I think it is pretty solid, but I don't see why it isn't just melded with the last song. Personally, I do think the Bob Ross sample at the back end of this track is a little bit predictable, but still done fairly tastefully. Drive Me Crazy has this walking funk beat with this amazing female vocalist that just has me completely floored. I also love this sort of sloppy jazz drumming at the end of the track. I Have Officially Officially Lost Vision is easily one of the best tracks on the record, with this slow buildup of screams and echoing roars and this huge release of tension on the low end, which just hits just right. Very much late night cruising music. This one is a solid jam. Say Something keeps the vibe rolling with something just as catchy but maybe not as hard hitting. It's very reminiscent, in my opinion, to an Yves Tumor track. Paint the Sky has some great atmospheric synth work, lots of neat but maybe overdone vocal effects to a certain extent, at least during the intro. It does all kind of come back together once the effects are lifted and Yachty takes the front of the mix and actually gives a pretty emotive performance, all things considered. Should I Be brings some of that psych rock back up to the front for this short but solid cut, pretty good back end track. I do think some of the lyrical flow here is maybe a little too disjointed, but only at certain parts. It kind of gets tripped up on itself. The Alchemist starts with this great guitar solo work and this huge hook between the vocals and this driving drum beat, which then breaks into a really amazing floaty soundscape with this great backup singer. The transitions from these double time to slow segments is actually really solid. Everything ends up being really fluid, even though they are quite fast change-ups. The final track, Reach the Sunshine, starts like a Radiohead track a la Kid A. This one is intensely emotional with this slow, brooding pace that does build to some pretty explosive walls of synths that feel like they're trying to just hit as hard as possible. And the song's final moments are these amazing melancholy pianos paired with some fantastic vocal chants. It really feels like this is the end of the show. Take a bow, clap, all of that. This is just wrapping up a spectacle. And that's really it. There are few better words I can think of to describe this album other than it being a complete spectacle. This completely blew me out of the water. Lil Yachty has an incredibly strong contender for the album of the year, and it is only January. I'm thinking Let's Start Here is a solid 9. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe. Check out my Instagram, my Reverb, and my Depop. Links to all of those are in the description below. Thank you all so much again. We'll see you on the flip side.